Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
Welcome to Crosspointe.
We are an inclusive faith community
seeking to live out the loving, just, and generous way of Jesus.
We are participants in a long tradition
that's less concerned with doctrines and dogma that demand total agreement,
but a life to be lived, enjoyed, and given away to others.
What unites us is a growing awareness that life is precious.
That we are made by love in order to love.
This community is comprised of and affirms the entire human family.
Regardless of race, age, creed,
physical abilities, marital or economic status,
gender identity, or sexual orientation.
So, if you're curious and have come to see,
if you are tired and have come to rest,
if you are grateful and have come to share,
if you are wounded and have come to heal,
if you're joyful and have come to celebrate,
if you are uprooted and have come to belong,
welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home.
It's too far to walk alone. You can't do it on your own. It's like bare hands digging through stone. And if things go down much steeper hills, even money won't pay these bills. But time is sure to show that people gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. Sometimes feels like I'm drifting a million miles from this planet. But what a shame it would be to look back on my life and realize that I've taken you and you for granted. People gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. I can't see what's a mile around the bend. I do not know where this world is headed or where it may end. But you gave me this smile, so I threw away my frown. And I ain't gonna pick up, no you don't pick up what you just put down. People gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, signs along the way to remind us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. Our people gonna be okay. Storms never come to stay. They just show us how bad we need each other. How bad we need each other. And the trials of today, there are signs along the way to remind us how bad we need was the one. When I am lost inside my mind, sing me the hope I cannot find. When my despair has left me blind, sing me the tune I've left behind. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? When all the grief pours through my hands, when I've forgotten who I am, I can't feel anything but shame. Sing out and give me back my name. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? When I sink down beneath the fear, the weight is more than I can bear. Keep singing though I cannot hear. One day I'll sing for you, I swear. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me? Sing of the goodness I cannot see. Will you sing over me? Will you sing over me?
It's 10 p.m. I had just turned out the lights and was rolling over, trying to get comfortable enough to fall asleep. I'm so close to that in-between of drifting off that I can reach out and touch my dreams when the door flies open and I hear my husband say, "Hey babe, Mark's on the phone with me." You see, we're foster parents and our social worker has called. Cal answered thinking that one of our former kids needs us in some capacity. But he comes to find out that there is a 9-year-old and a 5-month-old who need a home for the night and potentially the next couple days. And do we have the capability of taking them in? Let me give you a little background. When you answer a call like this, you have no idea where the children are coming from. Is it from their home or from a hospital? What kind of emotional and physical environment have they been in? What kind of disruption in the middle of the night took them away from their beds? How long will they stay? Can our biological kids acclimate with them? What's on our calendar for the next few days? Can we drop it all, including school? Are the kids going to be coming in angry, sad, broken, confused, awake, energized, or just a mix of all of it? You go from being in a dreamlike state to an adrenaline like no other. I have internally so many questions about caring for them emotionally, physically, when I realize I don't even know the names of these kids, if they're boys or girls or a mix. And we've learned from our past experiences. And while my heart is saying, can we make this work? My tired and very pregnant body is saying, ugh, not again. I just want to sleep. I don't know if I have the capacity for this. So my husband and I kind of look back and forth at each other as we wait for the other person to say, no, we can't be at home. Finally, I take a deep breath and ask, can you just ask Mark to add us to the end of his call list so that he can go through, we have some time to think about it, and maybe somebody else will say yes, but he can call us back later if everyone does say no. So Cal goes off, and then he comes back a minute later and says, we are the end of the list. So we agree. We come up with a plan, put an end date on it to add a little pressure to the county to find a long-term foster home, and we agree to take the kids in. No child needs to be spending the night in an office building, especially the first night away from their parents. Then comes the evaluating of what we do have to provide for the kids. Babies need formula, of which we have none, except I think I might have some samples from my OB office. They also need diapers, which we had size newborn for our niece and size 6 for our previous placement, but nothing in between. Both kids need clothes, neither of which we have sizes for. But by that point, when we heard from the CPS worker, it was past 11 p.m. on a weeknight and no way to get these items. I cannot tell you the relief I felt when they walked through the door at 2 a.m. and the CPS worker had a Walmart bag with a few diapers, some wipes, formula, and some snacks. It's moments like these that happen every day within our county lines and outside of our county too, over in Durham and in Chatham and all over the place. These placements are happening every day. While they try to ideally place children during the day, it just depends on the situation and if a judge can sign off on a court order in time. But no matter if the call comes at 5 p.m. or 11 p.m. or the wee hours of the morning, we have always been unprepared in some way. For the month of May, Crosspointe is working together to gather items for first night bags for the CPS and the social workers to have on hand for these kinds of situations. We do ask that all of the items are new, both for sanitary reasons and because these kids do deserve to be welcomed with something new. They will be items like books, PJs for all different sizes, stuffed animals, journals. We'll be collecting all of those through next week, May 18th. So head to our website to sign up to bring 1 or 2 items, and we will be packing these bags together at our Welcome to Summer party. We also will be having our adult ministry outing, another outing on May 17th to the historic Stagville Plantation in Durham. If you are interested in attending, please register by May 14th. The cost is $10, and you will meet at the location at 2:45 for the tour. You do have to be age 12 or older to attend. After the tour, we will all head back to Crosspointe to debrief and discuss over dinner. And that $10 does cover the tour and the dinner as well. If you would like to participate in helping fund all that our Crosspointe community is up to, we'd like to invite you to contribute financially. There's a lot that we do for community members, especially when it comes to housing, food, different finances. We've really just been pouring into these to people as much as we can. And so you can give through stocks, PayPal, mailing checks, and you can figure out all this information, find the best solution for you by going to our website, crosspoint.org/contribute. You can also text CrosspointNC to 77977, and the link will be sent directly to your phone. And lastly, on this day, on Mother's Day, I want to leave you with a Mother's Day blessing, which was written by Kate Bowler. O God of love, it is such a joy to bless our moms, those who have carried us in their bodies and in their hearts and in their minds, and all those who have mothered us in some form or fashion. We thank them and honor them all, those who we can hug today and those who are now gone or distant from us. We ask your blessing too on those for whom mothering is complicated, difficult, heartbreaking, or incomplete. Bless and heal and restore and rebuild all generations, forwards and backwards in time. God, with all of the genius of your creative power, rain down your blessing upon the mothering we give and that which we have received. Be to us the nurturing embrace we need to lead us to eternal life. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you, Crosspointe.
So a few months back, I spent some time walking through one of the most familiar passages in all of the Bible, and we find in John 3:16. And I tried to unpack some of the key words from the original Greek and how those same words are used throughout the rest of the Bible. And I offered up what I sincerely think is a better representation of the intention of what was originally written a couple thousand years ago. And it reads this way: For God so loved the world that God gave his one and only Son, that whoever places their confidence in Jesus and in the ways and teachings of Jesus won't find their life spoiling and wasting away, but rather they will live in an ongoing, continuous, eternal state of one who is possessed by life and vitality. And as we unpacked that previously, most of our attention was focused on the big ideas of life and death and what this particular verse was trying to convey in those regards. But something that we didn't get into then was the very simple yet important idea conveyed at the very beginning of this verse, that this all revolves around the idea of a gift, that God so loved the world that God gave. And the reality is, the idea that a gift is at the center of our understanding of what it means to relate to God is an extremely hard concept for us to actually embrace. And one of the reasons that's so difficult is that we tend to approach so many of our relationships with a transactional mindset. It's this sense of, if I scratch your back, then you scratch mine. If I do this for you, you're expected to do this other thing for me. That somehow, some way, there's always strings attached. There's an exchange, a transaction of some kind that's always taking place just below the surface in relationships. That somehow what I'm getting from someone is because I earned it, because I deserve it. And that same way of thinking filters into how we view pretty much everything. Or we can tend to think, you know what? After all I've done, you know what? My parents, they owe me. Or after all I've done for them, my kids, you know what? Yeah, they owe me. My spouse, my partner, yeah, they owe me. My boss owes me, my employees owe me, my friends owe me, and you know what? After all the good I've done and after all the bad things I could have done and didn't do, you know what? I think God owes me. And it's that sense of entitlement, that someone owes me, is what often leads to all sorts of toxicity in the way that we relate to one another. So it's no surprise that carries over then into how we view God. Because regardless of what we may say we believe about how God views us, it's hard for us to actually embrace that God gives it all. Life, grace, all of it. Genuinely as a gift, a no strings attached gift, reflective of what divine love actually looks like. where there's no transaction involved. And yet, what we know is that how we relate to each other and how we relate to God, that all dances together. There aren't distinct categories like, well, here's how I view my interactions with people, and then here's how I view my interactions with God. Rather, they're always intertwined. Jesus says how we interact with people is reflective of how we interact with God. And so if we want to start to root out the sense of entitlement that creates harm in so many of our relationships, one of the best ways to do that is through the expression of gratitude. A follower of Jesus named Paul wrote this to a community of Jesus followers in a city called Thessalonica thousands of years ago, where he wrote, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus." Now, there's a couple things we really need to tease out here because they are incredibly easy to misunderstand. And misunderstanding them can cause so much damage and so much destruction in our relationships and how we view our own life. And so I want you to notice first, though, that Paul says, give thanks. Now here's the thing. Giving thanks, expressing gratitude is vastly different than feeling thankful or feeling gratitude. In my experience with trying to help people navigate relationships for the past 30 years, what I've found is that our struggle usually isn't with the feeling of gratitude. We very often feel gratitude for all sorts of people in our life, right? If I were to ask you, are you grateful to your parents or to your partner, your spouse, your kids, your neighbor, your friends, your boss? Are you grateful for your employees? We'd pretty much all say, well, yes, of course. Of course I am. Because again, our struggle isn't with the feeling of gratitude. Rather, it's with the expression of gratitude. In fact, some of you have probably been accused of being ungrateful before. And most likely your immediate response is to get defensive. Because what it feels like to you is that someone is accusing you of not feeling grateful. And you're like, they have no idea how I'm feeling. What are they talking about? Who do they think they are telling me that I'm not grateful? Of course I'm grateful. And the thing is, you're right. They don't know how you feel. They know how they feel. Which in those kind of moments is usually that they feel unappreciated. In those kinds of moments, usually they feel taken for granted. And that's because your gratitude has not been expressed. It hasn't been communicated. Again, it's not that you haven't felt grateful. It's not that you don't feel gratitude. It's that you haven't expressed it. Years ago, I heard an author named Andy Stanley, and he said this, and it's always stuck with me, that unexpressed gratitude is experienced as ingratitude. Unexpressed gratitude is experienced as ingratitude. When gratitude goes unexpressed, it's experienced as ingratitude. And here's the thing, your accidental ingratitude has likely left a mark on a lot of relationships, and you may not even know it. It's created distance over time when it comes to their heart and to how they view you, because over time, ingratitude feels like rejection. It just does. This is just how relationships work. And we all know this, right? Because there's people in your life right now that you feel taken for granted by. Right? There's probably people in your life that you feel overlooked by. There's people that you stuck your neck out for or leveraged your influence for that never expressed gratitude for that. There's people in your life that you feel like you've bent over backwards for, gone above and beyond for, and you feel very unappreciated. And it's stung you, right? It's left a mark. It's frustrated you. It's caused you to maybe distance yourself and distance your heart from them a little bit. And the reality is, they probably have no idea that they've done that to you, right? They probably have zero idea that they've done that to you because they very likely feel grateful toward you. But the thing is, maybe they just never expressed it. And so it feels like the opposite of gratitude, right? It feels like ingratitude. It feels like rejection. Again, this is just how relationships work. Which is why we can't miss what Paul says first here when he says, give thanks. It's not feel thankful, it's give thanks, express it. And that's such an important distinction for us. Now that's the first thing, all right? Secondly, I want us to notice what Paul says further on, where he says, give thanks in all circumstances. Now, if you're like me, your first instinct is to be like, I don't know if I buy that. I mean, really, Paul, all circumstances? But what about my situation here? I mean, have you paid attention to the world and what's going on? Have you paid attention to the news? Or have you paid attention to this relationship of mine that's burning down like a dumpster fire? Or have you paid attention to my job loss or my dwindling bank account? Or what about my loved ones who are suffering and are in pain? What about the people who have passed away and all the grief that I'm going through? I'm supposed to give thanks in these kinds of circumstances? Really, is that what you're saying? And if that's your first instinct like mine, just know that all of that belongs. Those feelings, that frustration at that idea, that belongs. And so in that spirit, I just want to tease out a couple things. Okay, one, that there's a real thing called toxic positivity. Psychologists Quintero and Long define it this way. They write, we define toxic positivity as the excessive and ineffective overgeneralization of a happy, optimistic state across all situations. The process of toxic positivity results in the denial, minimization, and invalidation of the authentic human emotional experience. Just like anything else done in excess, when positivity is used to cover up or silence the human experience, it becomes toxic. By disallowing the existence of certain feelings, we fall into a state of denial and repressed emotions. The truth is, humans are flawed. We get jealous, angry, resentful, and greedy. Sometimes life can just flat out suck. By pretending that we are, quote, positive vibes all day, we deny the validity of a genuine human experience. You see, one of the ideas that we come back to a lot around here is that emotions are neutral, right? There aren't good emotions and then bad emotions. Rather, what emotions do is emotions give us data. They provide us with information that we should pay attention to, that it gives us insight into our inner world when we pay attention to the data that emotions are giving us. Rather than assigning them as positive or negative, they're neutral. They just give us data. But often in religious contexts, there can be this sense that one should just be positive and upbeat all the time. And anything that doesn't look like that is somehow this lack of faith. So let's be really clear about something. That's absolutely not true. Otherwise, in our own faith tradition, we'd have to ignore the moments when Jesus got angry, when Jesus was deeply grieved, when it says that he wept bitterly. And so it's important to note that when we're talking about gratitude, we aren't talking about celebrating or even trying to celebrate everything that happens as some act of faith. This isn't about being grateful because we claim that, quote, everything happens for a reason, as if some of the brutal things that come into our life are some form of cosmic lessons by God that will, just trust me, you'll be grateful for that later. Because when you tease that out, that would be a very messed up, twisted version of God, to think that everything happens for this cosmic lesson. But rather, what we're talking about here is abandoning this pervasive sense of entitlement through the act of expressing gratitude. And one of the things that helps us with that is understanding that the author here, Paul, who wrote these words, give thanks in all circumstances, is the same Paul who we understand from history was beaten, was flogged, was stoned, was endured violent shipwrecks and long periods of being chained up in prison. And he wasn't Pollyanna about how he suffered. There was no pretend positivity with him. He wasn't trying to hide from mourning and grief or real loss and tragedy, but he did understand something incredibly important about gratitude. That gratitude isn't merely a product of circumstances, but rather it's a way. It's a lens through which we learn to see the world. And that starts with understanding that gratitude is always an expression of humility. Because you see, and I want us to really think through this, because I do think it opens up a new way of seeing things for us. Wherever there is any sense of entitlement, which again is at the root of any transactional approach to relationships and the world, wherever there is entitlement, there can't be gratitude. Entitlement and gratitude do not coexist together. Because again, the mindset is, this is what I'm owed. This is what I deserve. This is what I'm entitled to. And it doesn't matter if we think that we're owed someone's trust, if we think that we deserve a compliment, or we're owed some form of intimacy or a promotion or a raise, if we think we're owed just a thank you, if we think we're owed an answered prayer or a different set of circumstances, because in our mind, whatever it is, we think we're entitled to it. We think we deserve it. And when we don't get what we think we deserve, what we can easily slip into is then trying to manipulate circumstances or trying to manipulate someone else to get what we believe we deserve, to guilt them into it. We can use guilt, we can use shame, we can use flattery, we can use deception, we use empty promises, we can even use threats, trying to get what we're convinced ourselves we're entitled to. And you see, this really does affect the lens through which we see the world and relationships. But when we do that, when we start to try to manipulate others to get what we're convinced we deserve, where we pout, we give the silent treatment, we know how to pull the right emotional strings and pour on the guilt, we make up stories that aren't even true, whatever it is, we typically head down one of two paths. And the first path is, we get what we were trying to get. We get it, whatever it is. We finally get the apology. We finally get the thank you. We get the gift. We get the compliment. We get the commitment, the physical intimacy, whatever it is, right? We get it. We get what we were after. But the thing is, we're not really grateful when that happens. We don't actually experience gratitude because, again, in those moments, we feel entitled to it. We feel like we're owed it. And so what we actually end up feeling may be pride, this kind of sense of self-congratulations because we're impressed at our ability to work the system, to say the right things, to pull the right strings, to get whatever we want. Or when we get it, the compliment, the thank you, the attention, the affection, we end up feeling rather empty or hollow, or even a little gross, because deep down, we know we manipulated the situation to get it. So we got what we wanted, but we don't actually feel grateful for it. There's no gift that was given to us. It was just a transaction. And that usually feels not that good. Now, that's one path we can go down and find ourselves going, right? But a second path is, okay, if we don't get what we think we deserve, right? We don't get any of those things. We want it, we feel like we're owed it, but we don't get it. So then we tend to isolate ourselves. We become bitter or angry. We're convinced that we're being robbed, that someone is out to intentionally withhold goodness from my life, and this whole other type of toxicity starts to grow inside of us, and we distance our heart, we distance ourselves, we just push ourselves away and push other people away because, again, we're convinced that we're owed something and we haven't gotten it. Yet here's the thing we have to wake up to. All of those feelings and experiences aren't actually rooted in circumstances, even though we convince ourselves that our inner world, that our attitude, that our heart would change if only the circumstances would finally change. If only we would get what we want. But what we have to remind ourselves is circumstances aren't the root of the issue. What's actually at the root of the issue is our sense of entitlement. And that may sound a bit nuanced, but I really do think that distinction is important. Because when we choose to abandon our sense of entitlement, what it does is it opens up the possibility of gratefulness for whatever gifts are in our midst. And again, that's not to say that we don't grieve and mourn losses that we experience and that we shouldn't get angry at injustice. That's healthy. What's not healthy is to try to brush over those things with some sort of toxic positivity. But we can start to let go of our sense of entitlement. That's the key. That sense that we were owed all those things, that they were some part of some cosmic deal and transaction where we lost sight of all the good things that are gifts. Not that we're entitled to, but instead that we can be reminded to be grateful for. Years ago, in our family, we crafted a set of values, and they are displayed downstairs in our home, still to this day. And one of those values for our family centers around gratitude. And this is how we wrote it years ago. Gratitude. We fight against entitlement by practicing gratitude. We consistently find ways to say thank you and to celebrate each other. We discipline our hearts and our minds to look for the good in one another rather than fixate only on what annoys us. Out of a spirit of gratitude, we generously give of our time, energy, and money so that we don't buy into the lie that our interests are the only ones that matter. And we wrote that value kind of into our family that way because we wanted to reinforce that gratitude is how we wage war against entitlement in our hearts. And that gratitude is a decision that we make. It's a skill that we learn. It is a habit that we practice to protect our own hearts and to honor the hearts of others. And the thing about it being a decision, a strategy, a skill that we actually have to discipline ourselves to practice, it's because if we merely rely on a wave of powerful emotions to evoke gratitude in us, which does happen from time to time, here's what we all tend to experience. Something good happens, we wake up to something, we see something with fresh eyes, this new perspective, we have this moment of gratitude and deep appreciation and joy and happiness. But then very quickly, that very same thing that sparks such gratitude and joy in us, it just becomes something familiar. Especially if it's something or someone that continues to be an ongoing part of our life. It or they becomes taken for granted and slowly fades into something that we just consider a mundane part of everyday life. It no longer surprises us. They no longer surprise us. And so it's extremely easy to just stop being grateful for the people and the job and the things that are right in front of you all the time. And yet at the same time, challenges of life rarely ever seem to slow down. Those kinds of obstacles just seem to keep coming. I often say, well, I just need to get through this season of life. And it can feel like sometimes this season of life just is one season after another after another. The obstacles keep coming. The things that annoy us, the things that disturb us and cause us grief, the things that exhaust us and anger us and overwhelm us to the point where it can feel like many times we're walking through the world where all we can see is the pain and the fear and the anger and the despair all the time. And again, those things can absolutely be legitimate and they need to be acknowledged and they need to be felt. This is never about ignoring them, sweeping them under the rug in the name of some kind of toxic positivity. That is not what we're talking about. But as we've said many times before in different ways, our brains are hardwired to fixate on fear and threat. They just are. The lower 2/3 of our brain, which is the survival part of our brain, the thing that houses the fight or flight responses, that part of our brain processes information like fears and threat and stress at about 4,000 miles per hour. But the other part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that captures good and beauty, significance and wonder, gratefulness, appreciation, it processes information at about 2 miles per hour. So consider the tremendous difference there 4,000 miles per hour versus 2 miles per hour. So is it any wonder then, when we consider the pace that you and I consume information today, how much easier it is to fixate on ideas that serve to increase anxiety and fear? Because they rush through us and at us at such incredible speed. Internally, they rush through us at incredible speed. But then, is it also any wonder why, if we want to be people who can experience things like joy and peace, and contentment and gratefulness, if we want to be people who can recognize good that is happening around us, then we have to discipline our minds to slow down enough to look for it, to pause and sit in the appreciation of it for several moments, just to let it actually process and sink in. And friends, that's why gratitude has to be a disciplined practice in our lives. It has to be a muscle that we build up, and not where we wait for the challenging times to slow down or to go away to practice gratitude, but something we practice consistently, even in challenging moments, so that we persevere through overwhelming times in more healthy ways. The author Diana Butler Bass puts it this way. She writes, "Gratitude is resilience of sorts, the defiance of kindness in the face of anger, of connection in the face of division, and of hope in the face of fear. Gratitude empowers us. It makes joy and love possible. It rearranges the way we see and experience what is all around us. Gratitude makes all things new. It transforms how we understand what is broken and gives us the ability to act more joyfully and with hope." That is why gratitude is central to all the world's religions. As a practice, it embodies the wisdom of humanity's greatest spiritual teachers, the love of neighbor. Gratitude takes us from abstract belief to living compassion in the world. Gratitude is strongest, clearest, most robust, and radical when things are really hard. Really hard. All is lost hard. Gratefulness isn't easy, and it isn't all hearts and flowers. It can be tough in tough times, but a dogged commitment to the giftedness of life can deepen our spiritual capacity to make it through circumstances that threaten to overwhelm us. That's a good word. And then author Bell Hooks states it even more simply when she writes, "Practicing gratitude creates the possibility for love in each of us." And so, if we want to be people who take Jesus seriously, where everything centers around love, learning to love ourselves, love others, and doing that all as a reflection of our love for God, then gratitude seems to be essential for you and I to learn to practice as a consistent habit in our lives. And where we don't settle for merely feeling it, but where we slow ourselves down and we practice expressing it. And so that's what I'd like to invite you to do for the next few moments. Maybe you're watching this on your phone, your laptop, maybe you're listening in the car on a walk. Would you just take the next few moments, and I want to invite you to express 20 different things that you're grateful for. Doesn't matter how significant or seemingly insignificant you may think that they are. But slow yourself down for a few minutes. And if you're in a space where you can write them down on a piece of paper or you can type them, then do that. If you're in the car, maybe just say them out loud. But push yourself to list out 20 different things. Again, we're building up a muscle here. This is the point. To stretch yourself, to challenge yourself, to think through these things, to slow your mind and your heart down. And try to name 20 different things that you can think about in your own life and around you that you're grateful for. And then, if any of those things have to do with other people, would you also consider today not just letting yourself feel it, but then taking the time to express it to them? That you'd express it to them, whether in person or on the phone or a text or an email. Find a way to express your gratitude, because again, I really believe relationally this is true. Unexpressed gratitude is experienced as in gratitude. And then perhaps put a practice into your life, a reminder on your calendar, an alarm on your phone, something you do first thing when you wake up, or maybe the last thing before you go to bed. Perhaps get into the practice of each day listing out 5 things you're grateful for, and then just see what happens. This is what building the muscle can look like. And then see if it opens up a little more space in your life for joy and for compassion and for love. Again, this isn't about erasing the pain. It's not about erasing the heartache. It's about creating space for love and joy in the midst of those things, in the midst of the challenges of life that will never stop. But for now, take these next few moments to pause. Try to express at least 20 different things you're grateful for. And we'll see you next week. You're loved.
If you would like to know more or get connected to Crosspointe, go to crosspointenc.org. If you're in need of care or assistance, go to crosspointe.org/care. And welcome home.